Hmm. Well, I won't let that happen again. Hi, guys. This is Julia. You guys might be looking at this thinking, what the heck am I doing? Well, I am going to transfer a photo to save time. A lot of times, um, I transfer a photograph onto painting surface, mostly like some of my watercolors, um, so that I can save time and get right to painting instead of, you know, doing a detailed drawing on my own, which is what I prefer to do. But sometimes I just don't have the time. Um, so it's easier for me to do it this way. And this is only one of the ways that I do it, but um, like I said, it does save time. I'm using a 6B pencil. I'm going to have to sharpen it. Hang on a second. Got to sharpen it again because this process does use up a lot of your pencil. But anyway, I'm making basic, oh, I just broke it. I'm basically making my own graphite paper here by doing this. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, I don't like that when that happens. Break a whole pencil lead right off the bat. That's not fun. Okay, let's see. Hopefully. Oh. Okay, so anyway, now that you've seen the top of my head, get back to this. So I'm just basically putting this down just so I can cover the whole entire back of the image with this lead graphite from the pencil. 6B works best because it's a softer lead. It's one of the softest leads, and it gives you your, when you draw, it gives you the beautiful rich darks that you're always looking for. Oh, I just tore that. That's not fun. Okay, so I don't know how much more I'm going to have to do. Let's see. I got a large area down here I have to do. I thought about using Cero paper, which I've used a lot. Gotta sharpen it again, guys. Sorry. Sharpen it again. Okay, so I thought about using Cero paper for this, but I'm transferring this onto a cradle board with absorbent ground. And I have used Cero paper before to do that, but this time I wanted to do this pencil because I want to be able to lighten it and lift it off in certain areas if I need to. Sometimes Cero paper is wonderful to work with, but it smears, and so does this, so you have to be careful. So I'm almost getting to the point, oops, where I can, my paper, my surface is not smooth underneath, so that's what's causing all that to happen. Okay, I got just a couple small areas over here to do. And then I'll show you what comes next. Let me pause that. Okay, so I've got the whole of the back of this covered, and I'm going to take some paper towel and I'm just going to start. I'm going to start off by, let's see, by rubbing this in and just spreading it around the entire back of the paper. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to make sure that all the paper is, that I spread this lead around. Okay, you don't want to make it all, I don't have to, you're not going to get rid of the pencil strokes, that's okay. It's not important. But I just want to make sure I spread it around. Now, why don't I use just plain old graphite paper? Well, I don't use plain old graphite paper a lot of times because I'm very heavy-handed, and if I use graphite paper and I'm heavy-handed, then I cannot lift my lines if they're too dark. I'm stuck with it, and I don't want the heavy lines in watercolor. I guess it really wouldn't matter if that, you know, if I had heavy lines using oil or acrylic, because that's an opaque paint, heavier, you know, and you could cover it up. But with watercolor, if I'm too heavy-handed with graphite, then I am stuck. I am stuck with really dark, heavy lines, and that's not what I'm looking for in my watercolor paintings. So yeah, I just want to make sure I get this all the way. I mean, this is, and as you can see, that lead is coming off onto the paper towel, which is fine. But you're just going to redistribute it. If you don't want to use something to transfer your drawing that's water soluble, I mean that's pigmented, like for instance, they have water soluble graphite pencils that I like to use to sketch with, but I wouldn't use that for this process, because then when you add your watercolor paint, that water soluble graphite is going to mix in with your paint. The same with Cerro paper's okay because it's a light blue. As long as you're not too heavy-handed, you can lift the lines out with a kneaded eraser just so that they're really faint, and then when you apply your paint, you barely see it, and sometimes it just dissolves into the paint itself and disappears. Sometimes if you're too heavy-handed and the Cerro lines are real dark, well, sometimes some of that can stay. So you got to be careful, and I don't know why I'm so heavy-handed, but I am. I try not to be. I always try to, you know, relax and not push too hard, but for some reason I've always had a heavy hand at that. So that's why I like to draw on myself. I like to draw my drawings on parchment paper first, you know. That way I can erase my lines, I can erase any area that needs to be redone, and I don't destroy the watercolor paper. When you draw on watercolor paper, if you erase it too much, you destroy the surface of the watercolor paper. So that's something you don't want to do. Okay, so I have my 6B lead. I rubbed it in all the way around the back of this, and let's see what happens next. I'll be back. Okay, so now I've got this all done, and what I'm going to do is This is the tiled paper that I taped together for the enlargement of this flower. So I'm going to take this board, my watercolor board that I did, prepped it with absorbent ground, and now I'm going to lay this on top. Now I'm going to have to draw to the edge, kind of make up stuff, because my enlargement is not, I'm going to do this here. My enlargement is not as big as my board, so I have to make that up by doing some freehand, which is totally fine. And I'm going to tape this down. I'm going to get some of this painter's tape, and I'm going to tape it down to the edge. I want this to be a little bit more, let's see, even. So I got my blue painter's tape here, and I'm just going to take this and tape that down right there, because I don't want this to move, okay? I want it to stay still. I don't want it to move. I suggest you do this when you're drawing, because you don't want to accidentally move it, and then, you know, that'll mess up your drawing, especially if you don't lift it up and check. So definitely tape it down so it doesn't go anywhere. I would tape it down pretty much a little bit everywhere. And I'm going to leave it at the top, because I'm going to start there, and I'm going to start from the top. Let's see if I can show you. This is bigger board than I thought. So I'm going to start from the top here with my drawing, and then work my way across and down. So that way, hopefully, and actually for my drawing, I think I am going to have to put it on an angle to do that. So I'll have to get my drawing table out and set that up so I can do that. But just to give you an idea of how this works, I got it taped down except for the top here, so that I'll be able to check if my drawing is being traced onto the paper, onto the board or not. Okay, you don't want to do your entire drawing and then realize that you didn't have enough lead down and it didn't work. That would just be horrible, because that's just a whole waste of time. And I just want you to know too that with this background here in the background, you just want to get some key shapes. You don't want to trace every single little detail. The same with the petals of the flowers. You don't want to trace every single line in detail. You just want to get your shapes, your color shapes, okay? Obviously you want the shape of the petal, but you want to get like the shadow shape and the highlight shape. You don't have to go in and do all of that. That would be, that's like paint by numbers when you do that, so don't do that, okay? And be mindful of your composition too. I know that actually I think I might just pull this down a little bit. I'm going to pull it down because I want my composition to be, I want it to come down a little bit. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, I want my composition a certain way. I've got it right now. This is what I'm thinking about, and I want to share this with you. Okay. So your golden ratio, if you did a grid and you had 9 squares, okay? 1/3, right? This thing was divided up into 1/3. Your golden ratio, where you want your center of interest to be, is like right about in here, okay? So with that in mind, I know that my flower, this part of the flower, the yellow part, I don't want it to be smack dab in the middle, the exact middle. Because to me, that's just a little bit boring. But I want to keep it within that golden ratio, right? To keep that center focal point. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put my center of interest right in here, kind of off center a little bit. And I want my viewer to come in to the painting from bottom right or the right hand side. I want my viewer to come into the painting from this direction. But I want them to be able to travel around. I don't want them to settle on just one spot. And I know this is yellow, and it's the only yellow right now in this picture. So it's my job as an artist who wants a successful painting is to somehow bring the viewer, make my colors and my marks so that the viewer travels around the painting and doesn't leave the painting and doesn't get stuck just in one spot. So my method of doing this then for this painting is going to be using subtle bits of color. I'm going to be taking this yellow and I'm going to be putting it in other places subtly in the flower or the background so that you travel. And now the color's not going to be as bright as this, okay? But I'm going to be using yellow in other places so that your eye will move and travel, and then eventually, gently, your eye can break away. But you want the viewer to look at your painting and not look away from it. That's the whole idea. So anyway, that's my plan for this. So with that in mind, I'm gonna start drawing and I will show you what I mean about how it transfers onto the board. So hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna just draw with a ballpoint pen. I kind of messed up already right there. And I'm just gonna draw the shapes. I'm not gonna draw all the detail. I just want shape. Just want shape. And this background, you can have a lot of fun with this. Okay, so I'm going to show you now what happens when I lift this up, okay? So as you can see, oops, when I take it back, oh, you can't see it. It's too bright. So let's see. Let's see. Oh, that's really bright. So you can see that where the lead is coming down onto the board. So I'm going to adjust the camera setting so that it's not, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a lot of sunshine coming into my window and I'm going to have to somehow put a curtain up there so it's not as bright, but this is the process then of transferring that image onto your board or paper. You do this with your watercolor paper as well. So I'm just doing shapes. I'm not doing any detail. And actually, when I start painting this, I'm probably not even going to pay attention to the lines of the background too much, because we'll be using wet and wet, and it'll give you a little bit of a roadmap as to where to put your color, but for the most part, I want you to be free in how you go about doing that. I don't want you to be stuck, you know, and have to be so precise. We don't want this to turn into a paint by number painting at all. Not at all. We just want this to be expressive and fun. And let's see, there's that. Now I'm going to get that marked out because that's a nice negative shape. This is a nice negative shape here. And oops, I had that little piece right there. Okay, that's a negative shape. Okay, stay focused, Julia. So anyway, this is how you will go about that, and you're just gonna trace those shapes, and then trace the highlight shapes and the shadow shapes, and then you should have a nice roadmap then of, you know, where your highlights are going to go, where your shadows are going to go, and then you're going to know where to put down your misket. A lot of times if you're using aqua board, it's really easy to lift out color. However, if you're using a staining pigment, then it's not so easy. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so I have a nice strong highlight shape here. I'm going to draw that in right there. I want that. And there's a nice fine line. I'm going to draw that too. And draw those. Like I said, you don't have to draw all of them, but I do want to put some misket on that edge right there to keep it fresh. So I drew it in. This is another highlight shape I'm going to keep right there and right there into that. Okay. And then this one right there. So you might say, well, that's a lot. Yeah. But I want to make sure that I keep my whites where they're supposed to be. And I have to be mindful of where they are. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one there. On this shape, I've already gotten that one. That's a nice shadow shape right there, a dark area. I'm going to keep that. We'll just do that like that. This goes right there. We'll just do that. And this is a petal, so I want that because that's a different petal. A nice highlight shape. And there's a dark petal right there, but I don't need that. I'm just going to do this one right there. Okay. And this, I'm going to have to figure this one out. This one is a petal. Goes like this and then like that. Okay, so I just want to show you. Oh, I didn't do this yet. Hang on. You've got to be able to see where you've been. It's a petal, so I want to draw that. That's a shape. It's going to take you a while to do this. I hope you maybe have some music to listen to, or it goes pretty quick. Sorry about that. So anyway, okay, so let me just show you now what that is. Okay, so we don't want it to be a paint by number. We just want to have shapes down, and then when you're all done, you're good to go. Now, like I said, I'm going to have to draw some more onto the edges, but that's all fine because I accidentally did the wrong size for my board, so that's okay. I'll just improvise. So anyway, guys, this is the transferring this photograph for Showstopper onto a cradle board. And thanks for watching. And if you like what you see, you can follow me on Patreon at Julia's Palette Studio at Patreon. And follow me on YouTube, Julia's Palette Studio, Paint Your Heart Out. So thanks with all of my heart for watching, guys. This is Julia Dufault McGrath signing off. God bless you and have a great rest of your day.